Yeah, that's right, Gia. You know, there are short-term goals and there are long-term goals that these city council members have. So, for example, early as this month, the council wants to divert funds from MPD and put that into community services. Now, long term, they just want to get rid of MPD and instead put in a new system that focuses on de-escalation. So, for example, they're thinking mental health calls or drug overdoses could be handled by specialized social workers, people who are not armed. And when it comes to investigations and other emergencies, council members say they don't know how a new system would handle those situations. That's why they're spending several months getting input from the community.
I don't want there to be this confusion of just, well, there's going to be nobody doing anything. There's going to be nobody solving murders. No, we're absolutely going to make sure that there are systems in place to address, an active shooter situation, for example.
What I would say is, who's going to do the job? Who will do it? I don't want them to jump into something quickly without thinking through all of the process.
Now, you heard concern there from a former law enforcement trainer about how practical this major change could be. So disbanding the police department would likely require an amendment to the city charter and then a public vote. Mayor Jacob Frey disagrees with abolishing the police department, saying he'd rather focus on changing the police union contract. Now, just yesterday, a big change came when Hennepin County Court ruled on this order that requires MPD to make immediate changes, and the full list of those changes is at KARE11.com. But among those is police officers can no longer use chokeholds or neck restraints, and officers who witness other officers doing such acts or unauthorized use of force have to intervene in those situations. Gia?
Yeah, the beginning of some major discussions and potential changes, Ellery. Thank you.